Hello, everybody. This is Terence Moore for Terence's Take for the week of January 14th, 2016. You can follow me at Forbes.com. You can see me here in Atlanta on WSB TV Sports Zone every Sunday night at 11:30. NFL Network Top 10, MSNBC occasionally, and also ESPN occasionally. But you know, somebody who is on television all the time is my guest, Charles Davis, and he is fantastic. He may very well be my favorite football analyst of all time, certainly in the top five. He's absolutely great. Hey, Charles, where are you right now?
I am actually in Orlando, Florida, headed to the airport. You're very familiar with those types of days, aren't you?
Well, I mean, you're always coming and going from the airport. There's no doubt about it. Do you have a football assignment this time or just for leisure?
I do. It's actually a football assignment. I'm going to work this weekend. The NFL Players Association College All-Star game is this weekend out in Pasadena at the Rose Bowl. So I'm going out there to work that one for Fox Sports FS1. And then I will catch a red-eye back Saturday night, repack, take a shower so everyone will want to be around me again, and hop on another plane from Mobile, Alabama for Senior Bowl week for NFL Network. So we're right in the teeth of that time of year, and I'm excited to be a part of it.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, if you all have not seen Charles Davis, and I know you have and heard him, I'm telling you, I mean, this guy is all things football and just tremendous. NFL Network, you know, he does a lot of stuff. You mentioned the Senior Bowl. I know you do a lot of stuff with the Combine too, right? NFL Draft.
You're exactly right. That'll be coming up. Wow, into February. I mean, these things just jump up on you fast, as you well know, trying to keep a calendar and do work and what's coming up here, what's coming up there. But, yeah, we got conference championship games coming up this weekend, and then the 2-week gap, and then the Super Bowl. And then after that, it'll be draft 24/7 as far as the NFL is concerned.
Wow. Well, you know, down the road, we'll have you back on to talk about that draft. But
Sure.
But today, let's talk about the conference championship games that are coming up here. And, of course, everybody knows you got the New England Patriots going to Kansas City and AFC, and then you've got the big bad New Orleans Saints. They're hosting the St. Louis Rams. But you know what's amazing about this? All right, you got the number 1 and number 2 seeds playing each other in each of the conference championships for the rights to come here to Atlanta, Georgia for Super Bowl 53. But Charles, what I find as interesting, all right, is that you've got the top 4 scoring teams, scoring offenses in the National Football League here in these conference finals. What happened to that theory that this time of year is all about defense?
Yeah, that is so true, isn't it? And you've covered the NFL for a long time, and you've
Sure.
been around the league. And, you know, we went through all those time frames where the Minnesota Vikings Purple People Eaters, where they
Right.
teams averaged less than 10 points a game against them for about a 3-year span. Remember that?
Sure.
And the Los Angeles Rams with the fearsome foursome. And the defenses had all of the nicknames, right? They had all the monikers, you know, the no-name defense of Miami Dolphins, the Steel Curtain in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
We go right on down the line. Well, I would say that, you know, I'm not going to say it started with the greatest show on turf. All right. But that was a big, big deal what the Rams did for that time frame.
Right.
And
right at the turn of the century.
And what were they foiled by? A defensive game plan that the Patriots put together that slowed them and stymied them enough for the Patriots to escape with their first Super Bowl under Tom Brady. And that's why people continue to come back to, you know, the offense is all flashy, right? The old offense sells tickets, defense wins championships. And let's just cut to the chase. This season was all about offense for the NFL.
No doubt.
Right up until New Orleans went to Dallas on a Thursday night and got beat 13-10.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the same New Orleans offense that at one point, just a few weeks previously, Terence, they went 3 straight games where they scored 45 points or more. Do you know only 4 teams in NFL history have done that in a single season?
That's insane.
3 straight games, 45 or more points scored. The Rams, we didn't know that they'd ever be slowed down. And heck, when the Rams played the Saints, it was a 45-35 game. Kansas City ends up Rams beat Kansas City on that great Monday night game, 54-51. How about we're talking about a 43-40 game as a rematch because the Patriots beat Kansas City 43-40. But these defenses started to get back into the game later in the year. But I still, as we think about this season, we will think offense. And as you pointed out, the top 4 scoring offenses found their way to the conference championship games. So what is it going to come down to? Who on defense can not necessarily shut someone down,
Right.
but make a key play at a key time in order to give their offense one extra possession and find a way to win. That's what I think it comes down to with these four.
Well, let's get right to it. We'll talk about the AFC, and then we'll talk about the NFC. And I tell you what, Charles, one of my claims to fame is that I covered 3 of the 6 coldest games in the history of the National Football League. And matter of fact, I covered the coldest, all right? And it wasn't the Ice Bowl.
Was that Cincinnati, San
Yeah,
Diego?
very good. See, I told you this guy's a football expert.
The Freezer Bowl.
The Freezer Bowl, yeah. And most people would say 67 Ice Bowl, frozen tundra Limbo Field.
Yes.
And it was -9 that day, but the wind chill factor was only -37 back then when the Green Bay Packers beat the Dallas Cowboys. For this thing in 1981, January of 1981, like you say, the Freezer Bowl, San Diego at Cincinnati for the AFC Championship, it was -9. It was not as cold as Green Bay back in the day, but the wind chill was -59. It was unbelievable. Yeah. And the reason I'm bringing this up now, Charles, is this coming weekend in Kansas City, they're talking about the temperature at kickoff will be anywhere between 5 and 10 degrees with 2 cold weather teams. Does this give an advantage to either one of them? Because they're used to the elements, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I would say so, and I don't think so. I mean, you don't think of Kansas City, Missouri as that place.
Yeah.
But it gets cold there. They get ice. They get snow. And look, just watch last week's game against Indianapolis. There was snow all over the place, and they played through it.
True.
The cold affects you more than a lot of the other elements because it's your your hands and your feet, which are so vital to you playing. And I don't know about you, but the things that get coldest on me first, my hands and my feet. So how do you keep those, fluent enough that you can make the plays you need to make? I don't think there's an advantage either way here.
Okay.
The game's going to be on natural grass. Will there be some slippage? Perhaps. But everyone has to deal with that. So I just don't see there being an advantage. They'll have to play. I do know one of the officials is working the game, Terence.
Yeah.
And he told me he's getting his scuba suit ready.
Uh-oh.
Because, they have to be insulated as well and run around that field and make their calls and the whole deal. And you're talking about the Ice Bowl. It reminds me of a great story about the Ice Bowl. I think early in the game, one of the officials tried to blow his whistle for a penalty.
Oh, yeah.
And it had frozen to his lip, and when he pulled it off, his lip was bleeding, the whole deal.
Oh, my God.
They didn't use whistles the rest of the game. There was never a whistle blown in that game. They just called the penalties when they needed to call them, but they never used whistles. Unbelievable, huh?
It really is. And you never get used to cold. And I know you were born in Tennessee, but you grew up in upstate New York. It's pretty chilly up there, right?
In New Paltz, New York, it got a little bit chilly. But I know my brethren in Rochester and Syracuse and Buffalo, they would laugh at us if we called that cold. You're like, you guys have no idea. We're essentially Canada.
Yeah, I'm well aware of that too. And and getting back to this game, with Kansas City and the New England Patriots, this is. The more I think about it, this is insane. The New England Patriots are in their 8th straight conference finals. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Tom Brady is going against the youngster Patrick Mahomes, even though he had the great season there. And you mentioned the shootout in week number 9 when it's 43-40. And normally in these situations, whether you're talking about conference championship games or Super Bowls, quarterback play is always huge. Besides the quarterback. Okay, besides the quarterback, what 1 or 2 players you think on either side could decide who wins the AFC Championship game?
I'm going to start with Kansas City. Besides the quarterback, Tyreek Hill, their wide receiver, and also their gadget player.
Oh.
Because what did he do against Indianapolis? Not only did he catch the ball, how about that reverse?
Yeah.
Where he hit the corner and was jet propelled and scored. So there's so many different ways you can get him the football. If they really get desperate, they'll bring him back in the backfield and hand it to him. You can jet sweep him. You can toss it to him on a reverse. You can swing it to him on a quick pass. You can throw it downfield. And they can actually have him return kicks. It's that time of year where you let your stars touch it as much as possible.
Yeah.
That's one guy. On the defensive side of the ball, for me, it's Justin Houston, their outside linebacker. Because, Terrence, they don't shut people down, all right,
True.
in Kansas City. Their defense isn't that great. But one thing they do well, rush the passer. They have 52 sacks on the season, tied for first in the league. So Justin Houston, D Ford, those guys, if they can affect Tom Brady at all, that's a huge deal. When I flip it over to New England, Sony Michel, the rookie runner out of Georgia.
Well, people know about him around here in Atlanta.
You know him, and I loved him coming out of school, and he has played to that level. And how about what he did last week against the Chargers? Got him off to a great start. He's a high-volume ball carrier, as you well know. He can take a bunch of carries. He can run inside, run to the perimeter, and that only helps things for Tom Brady because now he can throw off a play action and have favorable looks downfield. And then flipping over to the other side, Stephon Gilmore, their corner. Will he travel? Will he match up? Will he shadow Tyreek Hill? Because if so, that's going to be a heck of a matchup. Both of them are all pros, not just Pro Bowl players. All pro means best of the best.
Yeah.
And we could have a best-on-best matchup out on the corner on Sunday.
Well, I'll tell you what, Charles, before I ask you who's going to win this game, I got to mention this about Tom Brady. I mean, Tom Brady, I mean, the guy is like 150 years old. Actually, he's 41, but it's pretty close. I mean, but, the thing is about Tom Brady, though, he does not play well historically in Kansas City. I mean, he's like 1-2, 3 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, lifetime. And plus the fact that the Patriots, for all the fanfare they've gotten this year, they're not really a very good road team. Now, does that bode well for Kansas City, or is that an overstatement?
No, it's not an overstatement because those numbers tell us something. Every year we look at the schedule in the AFC East, and you just concede the division to New England, and rightly so.
Yeah.
But where do they always have trouble? In Miami.
That's true.
And historically, you wonder how the heck did that happen? I think they're now like 1-6 in their last 7. They just don't play well. So I talked to a friend of mine with the Patriots organization. I was like, hey, tell me what happens. Do the guys all sneak out after curfew and go to South Beach? Is it like for an NBA trip? He's like, you got to be kidding me. He said, we stay in like Fort Lauderdale, as far away from South Beach.
Oh, wow.
We lock it down. But for whatever reason, we don't play well there. And then when you flip it around, Miami comes to New England, you would think, okay, everything's competitive. New England kills them, just blasts them. So it's a weird deal. So your point is well taken about home field.
Yeah.
It's not overblown. It can be an issue. And if we really want to get esoteric about it, if I'm not mistaken, Kansas City is where Tom Brady had his knee injury.
Wow, I did not know that.
And Matt Castle was the one who came in. They went 11-5, and believe it or not, didn't make the playoffs that year. It was a weird season for them. I mean, rarely do you go 11-5 and not make the playoffs in the NFL. They did that year with Matt Castle and not Tom Brady. And I think it was Kansas City in the season opener when he had the knee injury and he missed the entire year. So all of that's going to come into play and what stuff we'll talk about. Bottom line for me is I picked against the Patriots last week. Okay. I said that the Chargers would go in there. I said if it weren't for Tom Brady and Bill Belichick and we knew it was New England, the roster to me was better for the Chargers. How'd that work out for me, Terence? Not so well.
Well, that's one of the few times, Charles, that you've been wrong on something. You're normally right on. I mean, that's a rarity.
Yeah, that one didn't work out very well. Here's the thing. I think that the road is not going to be the issue in this game for New England. It's going to be, again, can they make enough plays on defense that Mahomes has to do some chasing? And to me, this is, for anyone who's a horse racing fan, when a horse breaks out of the gate fast in a horse race, the old horse racing people say he caught a flyer out of the gate.
Sure.
Whoosh. I think that in this game, whoever catches the flyer out of the gate, they have a major advantage in this because chasing with these quarterbacks is difficult because you're trying to match score for score. You got to play in the even area. You got to be like within the one score. If somehow someone gets a 2-score lead, and that's what got Kansas City against New England last time. New England had the 2-score lead. Mahomes did the chasing, almost got there, but then Brady, of course, made the key play down the stretch, and that was all she wrote. So that's what it's going to be. Someone said to me today, the coin toss may be the most significant play because Bill Belichick typically defers.
Yeah.
He might change it up in this one and say, we got to take the ball and set the pace and score. We shall see.
Yeah, I got a feeling, Charles, from listening to what you said here the last couple of minutes, you were describing Kansas City against New England, but you might have also been describing New Orleans against the L.A. Rams. And we're going to get to that now, the NFC Championship game in New Orleans. And I'm telling you, this is the gumbo game. And for those who don't know out there, I mean, this is great intrigue. You got New Orleans Saints coach Sean Payton is in this war of words with the defensive back of the LA Rams, Marcus Peters, because the last time they played, okay, and that was a game that you referred to earlier, Michael Thomas in New Orleans won the game in New Orleans. Michael Thomas went nuts, the wide receiver, 211 yards, and he got most of those yardage over Marcus Peters, the defensive back. And after the game, you had Sean Payton, the NFL coach. NFL coaches rarely talk smack. But Sean Payton said that, hey, we like that matchup. And, of course, Peters took upset with that. So the question I've got for you, Charles, does this type of thing really make a difference? How much is this going to factor into the game, this back and forth? And, of course, I call it a gumbo game because Marcus Peters said that after the game, he and Sean could go out and have gumbo and, I guess, talk about it.
Yeah, I like it. And because it's a gumbo game, it adds a little spice to the whole thing, right? And what they say down in Cajun country is when you add a little something extra, they call that lagniappe, right?
Yeah.
There's a little lagniappe on top of this ball game. Here's why I don't think it makes as much of a big deal as it seems to be on the surface. It's because the Rams in that game played a lot of man-to-man coverage, Terence.
Mm-hmm.
And Michael Thomas took advantage of Marcus Peters in that game. Now, I remember Marcus Peters has been a two-time Pro Bowl player, all-pro corner. His first 2 years in the league, he led the league in interceptions, I believe.
Sure.
So he's come in and played very well, but he is a much better zone coverage player than he is man-to-man player. And the Rams, under Wade Phillips, and any team Wade had, he likes to play man-to-man with his corners, but this team evolved into where they were better in zone defense. So I think that they will play them differently this time. They're better when they get their eyes back towards the quarterback, make a break on the football, and make plays. The Saints just dealt with that with the Eagles, but this is a much better secondary with the Rams. Aqib Talib on one corner, perennial Pro Bowler. Marcus Peters on the other corner. He had been a perennial Pro Bowler before being traded, and this year he wouldn't be. But John Johnson, the safety from Boston College, LaMarcus Joyner, the safety from Florida State, those guys can make plays on the football with eyes back towards it. That's going to be fun to watch as the Saints run their zone offense, essentially trying to find creases in there and get the ball quickly to receivers, because these D-backs are going to react quickly, and they will force them into some tougher contested catches, I think, in this ball game than maybe they did last time when Michael Thomas had his way with Marcus Peters.
Well, and don't forget, you mentioned this, Talib, he didn't play in that last game. He's healthy now.
Hurt. Yeah, he missed about 8 games, I think, when he had a foot injury early in the season.
Sure.
And his first couple games back, it was made a big difference in their defense, including an interception against Philadelphia in Los Angeles. Remember, they were getting blown out?
Yeah.
And it's about to be done. He makes a big interception, gives the Rams new life, and they ended up coming back to the point where they threw a ball in the end zone at the buzzer, and we almost had a tie game in overtime. Now, Philadelphia got away with the win, but Talib makes a big difference, one of the captains, and he really helps solidify the defensive secondary.
Yeah, in the postseason play, you always got to talk about the quarterbacks. We talked about the quarterbacks the last time in the AFC, and then this one you got great ones, Jared Goff of the Rams, but you really, really, really have to talk about Drew Brees. I mean, this guy is 39, and he completed 74% of his passes? I mean, that's insane.
How much? Think about this. He set the NFL record last season at a little bit over 72%. Okay.
Whoa.
Sam Bradford had set it previously at a little bit over 70%. In 2011, he set a record, Drew Brees did, at around 70% completion percentage. So since 2011, he has jumped that record twice. This year, 74.4%. In fact, in the last game, they showed his stats at one point, and he was 72.2%. And I laughed and said, boy, he's having a real down game, isn't he? He's off from his normal totals. So this is going to be wild because Drew also turns 40 Tuesday of game week.
Oh, my.
Okay, so he's going to hit his 40th birthday and play for the first time as a 40-year-old, which I don't think is going to change what he does. But it's insane. He's doing that at 40. Brady's 41 in the other game. And in opposite both of them, 2 young guns. Mahomes in his second season in the NFL, Goff in his third.
That just makes it so fascinating. And, we talked about all this offense, but again, we're going to have to get the defense. And one of the reasons why the New Orleans Saints are in the position that they are in today, When's the last time we've been able to say New Orleans Saints and defense in the same sentence? Okay, could that be the deciding factor in this game? The Saints defense, one way or the other.
It could very well be, and here's why. They have drafted so well over the last 3-4 drafts with heavy emphasis on defense. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but let's just play a quick game. Let's say they've drafted 30 players in the last 4 drafts.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere in the neighborhood of 22 or 23 of those players were defensive selections. Okay, so when you start filtering it in there, now, again, my numbers aren't exact, but if people want to go back and look, they will see the defenses, the drafts were defense heavy. And a good number of those guys have shown up and are playing well for them. Marshawn Lattimore at one corner. They traded for Eli Apple, even though they didn't draft him, but he came in 2016 to the Giants.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Alex Anzalone at linebacker. Sheldon Rankins, who will not play in this game because he got hurt in our game, but he was a force this year at defensive tackle. I can go right on down the line. They have fortified that defense to help out Cam Jordan, their defensive end, and that defense is second in the league in run defense.
Wow.
So they're going to get tested because here comes Todd Gurley, C.J. Anderson, the late ad this year. They both were over 100 yards against Dallas. Can't wait to see how that gets tested. But you're right. I think both sides on defense may have to make those plays. And I was so impressed with the Rams against Dallas.
Oh,
because I was worried about their run defense. Terrence, all year long, their run defense had been very good.
Mm-hmm.
And when you say Aaron Donald and Ndamukong Suh are your tackles and your run defense isn't good, it leads you to a lot of questions, doesn't it?
That's true.
Well, they came up and played big on Saturday night in Los Angeles. No place for Ezekiel Elliott to run. They will have to do the same thing because here comes Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara. So run defense for both of these teams is going to be paramount on Sunday.
Well, Charles, so you can catch a plane. We're gonna wrap up with this, and you know, this is so ironic. We're talking to you for so many reasons because here in Atlanta, Georgia, and you know where I'm going when I get halfway through this. Everybody is depressed because they cannot stand the New Orleans Saints. And what happens is, and I know that you covered the Falcons during the preseason there, and maybe a couple of years, and so you know about the fan base here in Atlanta. And so here's where the depression really sets in, ladies and gentlemen. If the Saints win and come to Atlanta for the Super Bowl, they will practice in Flowery Branch, home of the Atlanta Falcons, and they will be in the Falcons locker room. So the question I have for you, Charles, is that going to happen? Is that going to happen?
Ooh. A lot of people would say yes, but I'm actually picking against them. I'm picking the Rams. I think it's a rematch game. I know it's on the road. The crowd's going to be in full throat, but I really like what the Rams have done down the stretch on offense, how they've almost reinvented themselves.
Yeah.
The young quarterback is playing much better. One down, 7 interceptions. That's gone now. And that two-headed monster of Gurley and Anderson with that big veteran offensive line,
right?
I think they'll find a way to upset them, and that'll help the Atlanta fans. Because I have a friend that I work with on the Madden game. Yeah. And that's what he said to me today, Terrence. He said, "I can't them in our locker room. I can't. So, so that will be an interesting deal to see how that works out. Could you imagine the Falcons brass looking up every day and seeing that Fleur de Lis out there on their practice fields? That'd be a bad week.
Well, you know, if the Rams win, I would not be upset because I went to school at Miami, Ohio, the cradle of coaches. And, of course, Miami, Ohio is the only university with 2 NFL head coaches as graduates, one being John Harbaugh of the Baltimore Ravens, and the other is right there, Sean McVay. Yes. So love and honor to Miami.
There you go.
That's where I look at it.
You go back through history, you're seeing a number of Super Bowl coaches who came through there and a number of people, not just Super Bowl coaches, but national championship coaches in college football.
Yeah.
I mean, all the way through the ranks, that cradle coaches thing is for real.
Charles, you're getting me excited, and you're going to miss your plane if we can start talking about the cradle coaches. But
we'll do that another time.
We'll definitely do that another time. And I'm telling you something. You guys need to listen to this guy. He is just tremendous, and we're so happy to have had him. And I want you to come back and listen to what we have next week. It might not be as good as today, but come back next week for more Terrence's Take.